Alrighty, how's it going? Jonathan here with Boston Collectors. Today's review is all about the DX28 Darth Vader, as seen in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. It took a while for this one to start shipping out, but he's finally making his way to collectors. This particular release of Darth Vader covered quite a few moments throughout the series that we'll discuss later on in the review. Considering this is a DX release, the art box is a lot different compared to the standard and anniversary releases. Beneath the sleeve of the box, we're greeted to an ornate design featuring an array of images from the Death Star, his castle on Mustafar, and the Inquisitorius, to name a few. The design doesn't stop there. It's a much more fitting approach for this release, considering the battle damages caused by the fight with Kenobi, and lead into the character quote from the series. Following the quote, we have a brief synopsis of information pertaining to Darth Vader. And with the box out of the way, we can finally get to what's inside. And the presentation inside doesn't disappoint. If you picked up the DX27 version to this release, your unboxing experience will vary slightly, as some of the components showcased here you won't have. Do us a favor by liking this video and subscribing to the channel if you're enjoying the content so far. And with that, let's get to unboxing. Out of the box, Darth Vader isn't pre-equipped with his cape, so we'll begin by setting him up with his standard appearance. We'll discuss the cables later. For now, we'll need to remove the helmet to equip his cape. We'll also use the cleaner look as we discuss the accessories. Out of the box, Vader's pre-equipped with a pair of gestures that are considered neutral to him. These can be posed to rest on both function boxes found on his belt. Our next gesture is a fist for the left hand. Hot Toys never provided a pair before, and for whatever reason, it was only specified for the left. For the right hand, we have a gesture indicative of the force choking scene with Reva. No pairs for this one either, unfortunately. So far, this is one moment that this figure can cover from the series. Next, we have a pair of force gestures that can be used in a variety of ways seen throughout the source material. We also have a slightly modified version of an older gesture to accommodate the holo projector included with the exclusive and deluxe version exclusive releases. For Darth Vader, the holo projection represents the Grand Inquisitor, as seen in the Kenobi series. There are other projections that can work here, such as the Death Star hologram released with Count Dooku. And finally, we have a pair of C-gripping gestures for the lightsabers included. Speaking of lightsabers, we have a standalone hilt without the light up functionality, featuring a slight design modification seen in the series. You can either pose him with the static ignited blade, or the dynamic effect depending on preference. If posing him with it isn't for you, you can simply hang it from his belt. For the additional sabers, we have the split hilt design, which speaks to a second moment from the show in his battle against Reva. Static effects were provided for these, but not the dynamic ones. It is an interesting choice to provide these without a light up function, but more on that later. Since there's more heft to Vader's hilt, his hands aren't really made for Reva's. There's quite a bit of wiggle room here. I found that I needed to adjust them often as they ended up moving with gravity depending on the pose. Before we discuss the LED lightsaber, we need to cover a few things, so let's begin with the cape. Hot Toys designed a 2-ply reversible cape for both looks included with this release. There's a nice weight to it, and the fabric they chose feels great in hand. I do wish this slash appeared a bit better though, considering it came from a lightsaber. However, it is present, and I guess that's all that matters. On the back, there are 3 wires built into the suit, 1 for the life systems computer, and 2 for the function boxes. The instruction manual point out a way to feed the LED lightsaber through the chest armor, which is velcroed to the front of his suit. It's a light design, and it's easy to handle, but the piece we're here for is hidden under the right shoulder. It's a fight. But let's pivot to the control panel, and we'll come back to that. This is a lot easier to place on the figure than the previous versions. It's as simple as sliding it onto the belt. The function box wires are set up for an easy install, and they're meant to connect on the left and right side of the control panel. On top, we have the life systems port on the left and the LED lightsaber port on the right. Rather than feed the LED saber through the elastic band on the armor, I chose to feed the life system wire through it instead for a cleaner look. There are a total of 3 switches for a set of light up features. The top switch indicated here will light up the life systems computer, the function boxes, and the LED light up saber. The off button is self-explanatory, but the bottom switch will only light up the function boxes and the LED light up saber, which will result in the life systems computer on his chest appearing offline. The final port is for the USB-C type cord that isn't included. After connecting the lightsaber to the final port, we can now place the desired look to Vader's cape back on his person. For a better look at the cape on the figure, you can't tell that there's wiring going on beneath it. With the cleaner look versus the battle-damaged appearance to his cape, let us know down below what you think of Hot Toys' execution. Now we can connect him to a power source and test out the top functionality of the light-up feature. I find that there's a bit of light leak going on between the function boxes, but nothing for the life systems computer on his chest. Apart from that, the lightsaber we connected earlier is lit up as well. With the previously mentioned ignited effects, it gets the job done. As we turn off the studio light, you can get a feel for the overall brightness of the blade, combined with the other light up features. I commend Hot Toys for the new feature of lighting up our figures compared to the button cell batteries from before. This is phenomenal innovation on their part. However, I look forward to the day where blades appear with a burning effect similar to a CCFL saber. For now, it does get the job done. As for swapping out the systems piece, there's a subtle friction locking it into place. For curious minds, here's a glimpse of the setup beneath the plate. Now it's fixing the piece into the grooves and applying a bit of pressure to secure it. The battle damage look adds more character compared to the cleaner style and allows for light to pass through the original switch setting we applied earlier. Combined with the subtle wear on the function boxes, it works well. Swapping to the other switch, you'll see that the life systems now appear offline, whereas the function boxes appear active. Replicating the moon Obi-Wan and Vader fought on, we have a familiar Rocky-style diorama base. The only thing separating it from prior releases is the sharpness to the print and the paint application. Here we have the heavy weapons clone Bark Speeder base as an example. There are other examples with slight modifications, being Commander Oppo, Mando Scout Trooper, the Return of the Jedi Scout Trooper, and the Iron Man Mark 85. I found it interesting though, the varying attention to padding beneath the base of a $360 figure compared to a $650 figure. Anyway, he was given an acrylic rod compatible with the crotch piece to maintain his balance. From here you could be done, and depending on the version you picked up, you might be. We aren't, but we'd like to throw together a quick pose on the base anyway. Yeah, this guy's pretty awesome. However, there's an even cooler base for the DX28 that we need to discuss. It's a modified version of the quarter-scale Darth Vader released back in 2018, but the design itself is pristine and beautiful to look at in hand. Since it isn't donning a nameplate, this could be universal in the display for multiple figures. There are 3D elements found along the front and the sides of the base, creating a sense of depth and dimension to the overall design. On the back, we can find the USB-C port and the on and off switch as well. After plugging in the base and switching it on, it comes to life in a beautiful way. Before we pose him on the base, let's compare sizing. Compared to the Thanos base, which would have been awesome to pair with this Vader, the Imperial flooring is smaller in depth. Unlike the Rocky diorama showcased earlier, the Imperial flooring is bigger in scale. And lastly, this is roughly 2 standard bases deep for scale. My only issue with the base is this. I wish there were a way to plug Darth Vader into the Imperial flooring to power his suit. It would have alleviated an extra core feeding through the display and adding clutter. Apart from that though, I'm a big fan of this base design. With the accessories complete, let's go ahead and jump into the portrait. The standard release of the figure, which is the main moment from the series, features the star of the show for Darth Vader, showcasing the man beneath the mask. While the footage is rolling, I'd like to point out artists Jeong, Teo, and Kim behind the incredible design we have here in front of us. The scarred appearance to his skin combined with the gray and varying shades of red does a phenomenal job at bringing out the evilness that is Darth Vader. From every angle, the figure is intimidating, but combined with the hateful expression in Vader's face and the open scars around his head, it brings it to a whole different level. I find a chest-level display in the collection best suited for a wider range of portrait visibility, depending on space, but that could just be me. Under any form of lighting, you couldn't find any flaws if you tried. The attention to detail on the scarred eyebrow section where hair used to grow shows a slight darkness against the other grays that is truly remarkable. And the open scar on the top of his head, representing an open wound, is replicated beautifully against the healed, damaged skin. To access the SIR system, we'll need to remove the helmet. Since Vader's portrait is cut on one side, it's only right to have one eye functional for display. The helmet design is a far better approach than the Empire Strikes Back version for sure, so I'm grateful for the redesign. The SIR system is a great way to change the overall feel to the portrait if you'd like to adjust his eye in the display. For the smaller details, the damage to the helmet would be my only nitpick, but I find myself drawn to the portrait design anyway. On the inside of his helmet alongside his cheek, I did notice a fan of sorts sculpted into it, which was cool. And Hot Toys also sculpted in the Comlink microphone, which aided in the distortion of his voice in the show. The range of motion for the portrait is decent. I do find it interesting there's far more range looking up, with a limited amount of range when looking down though. We'll touch on this later. For now, we'll need to prep the figure for the helmeted design. There's a good range of motion in the neck joint, and it features a soft plastic neck piece. It feels a lot better to articulate, and I don't feel hindered by it. The swap-out helmet is relatively easy to put on. You just have to make sure the joints are aligned. While that might sound basic, I did find myself needing to adjust the way I inserted it because of the way I took out the portrait. Not a big deal, just something to pay attention to. I mean, it's a Darth Vader helmet. It's like going over a helmet design for a clone trooper at this point, for me. There are changes throughout the design though, but nothing I think a lot of people care to really hear. If so, let us know down in the comments and we'll keep this in mind for next time. A lot of the typical features we look for are present. While you might not be looking, I did catch a glimpse of the optical lens, and believe it or not, they are red. I did find it interesting though that the helmet could look down slightly further. On the right, you'll notice that there's a double ball peg, unlike the single ball peg in the portrait. Let us know which design interests you most. Both are phenomenal, but I really do love the portrait design myself. A lot of the real changes to the suit was discussed earlier in the accessory segment. We'll go ahead and play some footage here for you all, but my talking points won't necessarily correlate with what you see. Hot Toys has been throwing in some Easter eggs here and there in a few of their releases. One of my personal favorites being the magnetic backpack on Echo. For a bit of an explanation, Echo was held captive by the Techno Union and turned into more of a cybernetic being, helping aid the Separatists in their battles against the Republic. Convoluted, maybe, but there is a point. Echo's body repelled all of the other backpacks from the previous Bad Batchers, and it goes to show even a simple swap around for a magnet can be a pretty cool detail, right? At least to me. What I would have loved to see here are die-cast ratcheted joints. Due to the mechanical nature in Vader's elbows and knees down, that would have made it that much cooler in terms of details that we may not consider. It isn't deducting points, although the pleather on the suit is a major point that a lot of collectors will more than likely deduct for. Apart from that, I find this particular figure far more posable than any of the prior releases of Darth Vader. The pleather bending might make you cringe though if it's a problem, but he is fun to pose around. I also found pegging in the hands far better than the Empire Strikes Back Vader as well. It's just an all-around upgrade and it feels like it. While we have 3 Vader suits represented here, our main comparison will be between the Empire Strikes Back and Kenobi Vader. Although I'm a huge fan of the matte style to the A New Hope Vader, it's tough to compare these two due to age. I view the height separation differently than most. I think about his legs being changed out and modified over time, similar to gym shoes. We switch them out and depending, it will alter our height, so why not here? For the first detail, we have a change to the overall neck and the used air exhaust beneath his chin. The voice projector and the respiratory intake filter are also sized differently. There is a lot more here if you pay close attention. The codpiece is another major change, although I do prefer the codpiece of the older version for posing. And something as small as the buttons above his hilts weren't overlooked either. You also can't help but notice the finer detail work for the ventilation segments here. A lot of people might just see another Vader and that's totally fine. But this is far beyond a reissue in a lot of different ways. And they did a phenomenal job. To summarize my thoughts, it's extremely difficult to find true problems with this release. It'll genuinely boil down to nitpicks that add up, and we all have our nitpicks. I, for one, would have loved to see pairs of hands. While these are new molds and modified gestures, I'd have loved having pairs for him. The saber slash across his back is fine, but it's hard to believe a saber would have dealt so little damage to it. But it is Star Wars fabric. The double ball peg neck for the helmet is great for range. I would have loved having that in the portrait neck as well. And lastly, the light up base would have been a lot cooler to plug Vader into, rather than having two different cords coming through the display. That's where a lot of my issues end. Because it's tons of fun to pose, and I find that the accessories allow for a lot of play in the collection. As a fan of the former Jedi Anakin Skywalker, having this representation of him in the display is a huge plus for me. I'm giving this release of the DX28 Darth Vader a 9 out of 10. Fun is the goal, and my nitpicks just didn't add up enough to drop too many points. If anything, the plug-in feature to power Vader is missing from the base, and the single ball peg neck hurt it the most. And with that, we hope you enjoyed today's video. Like and subscribe for future content, and we'll catch you next time.